Agnes NANDUTU was finally sentenced for 4 years in jail for stealing the iron sheets. In fact, I felt bad for Agnes NANDUTU to go in jail. Not that because he didn't participate in the stealing of iron sheets, but it looked like it was persecution because very many people were let off the hook. People even took more iron sheets. So it looks like someone is using Agnes NANDUTU as an example of fighting corruption when actually other people would have been brought to account. The judge who was in this case gave some interesting issues as to the reason as to why Agnes NANDUTU was sentenced for 4 years in jail. Okay, he said these statements. Listen very carefully because they are going to form a base for our discussion. Here is the tape.
For the reasons above, I decline the request by counsel for the defense to impose a fine alone. The reasons for this is as follows. The highest penalty of a fine prescribed under Section 21(1) of the Anti-Corruption Act, which is the penalty for this offense or fine, is 160 currency points and comes to a paltry 3,200,000 shillings by all standards. That amount is inadequate, and I, at this juncture, wish to state that it may be useful for the legislature to consider or reconsider the ranges of fines that are prescribed in the law for corruption offenses. In my view, they are so low that they make it difficult to hand down to convicts in corruption cases. In fact, the convict often cannot benefit from the sole option of a fine because they are so low that they do not fit the crimes.
So, first of all, the reasons why Agnes NANDUTU was given 4 years in jail, the judge came out to say that according to our constitution, if a person is going to be given a fine for being involved in corruption, the highest fine is 3 million. And he opted for the 4 years because the 4 years are somehow equal or amount to the corruption case availed in court. And here, I think, indeed, the judge went on to tell MPs to amend the constitution. It cannot be that a person who has stolen billion, the highest fine should be 3 million. It is the truth. So he came out to say that Agnes NANDUTU cannot benefit from the fine only because it is so little compared to what he was involved in. And for me, I keep on telling people that Agnes NANDUTU is one of the kind from who rose in the ranks on a very speedy way. Because remember, Agnes NANDUTU stood as a woman MP in Bududa. He first went to the Eran primaries, he failed. He stood as an independent. He won the election. It's very hard. There are not very many women who have won elections as independent in their districts because normally districts are so very huge. They are normally taken by either the opposition party or the ruling party. Even after winning that election in Bududa, the first time in parliament he was appointed as a state minister for Karamoja. In my culture, we say Chukula Mangu, Chifa Mangu. A person who grows very quickly in hierarchy, some of the time he also falls from the top very quickly. I think that can be used to explain Agnes NANDUTU's rise in politics. So Agnes NANDUTU going in jail for 4 years, it was because the constitution didn't avail a right amount of money to be used as fine. Let's continue with the video.
Principles of sentencing is that the offense, the sentence that is prescribed by the court must fit the crime that has been committed. So, the sentencing guidelines recommend a starting point of 3.5 years for the offense of abuse of office. I will use that as a guide for the offense of dealing with suspect property, for which no ranges are specifically provided. Now, since the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating factors, and since I have already said I cannot render a sentence of a fine alone, I can only move upward from the starting range, which is 3.5 years. I'm of the view that the 5 years prayed for by the state is on the high side, considering that the iron sheets eventually were recovered, though they are no longer new and had been kept somewhere in a certain state. The missing iron sheets have been paid for, and the convict is remorseful. Also, the fact that there was a lack of premeditation. I therefore find that a sentence of 4 years imprisonment is suitable in the circumstances of this case. Compensation orders are intended to provide immediate relief to victims of crime and alleviate the grievances of complainants. In light of what I have stated about the recovery of the...
What I've learned in this sentence, one, the stolen iron sheets were recovered, though they were old. Even those who were not recovered, Agnes NANDUTU paid them back. But our constitution says that the minimum number of years for anybody caught in corruption or stealing government funds or property is 3.5 years. So the judge came out to give 4 years. I don't think Agnes NANDUTU will be let off the hook, even if he, because I know he's going to appeal to the High Court, to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court. If the penalty is 3.5 years, maybe they can be reduced to 3.5 years, but he'll be convicted. However, my own worry is, why is Agnes NANDUTU a state minister? The full minister, also from, I think, the woman MP for, I've forgotten her name, stole iron sheets, the Prime Minister Nabanja in thousands, the Speaker of Parliament Anita among thousands, the Minister of Finance. In fact, for me, I suspect that it was a racket of stealing iron sheets so that everyone who could raise an alarm got his portion. Agnes NANDUTU, convicting Agnes NANDUTU only, won't solve the problem. I wish the Speaker of Parliament would be in the same docket. Lugolobi, I think it was the chair budget for finance, if I'm mistaken, or budget, was let off the hook. How? So Agnes NANDUTU's conviction looks like a premeditated thing, so that a certain person must be taken to jail. But other onchos their name were implicated. Some even came out to say that they returned the iron sheets, like Anita Among. He came out to say that he returned the iron sheets.
So that we have people safe. Honorable members, of recent we've had media talking about iron sheets. And I've always said, in my district, I got a call that, iron sheets have been brought. And when they were taken, I said, give it to the schools. Little did I know that the iron sheets were made for another region. But after thorough analysis and looking at if the iron sheets were meant for Karamoja, not for Bukedea, I have taken a personal decision as a leader that since it was not allocated to my district, but also the iron sheets were given already out, I have decided to buy 500 iron sheets and give it back. I have sent my personal assistant to take back the iron sheets to OPM. I have taken a personal responsibility, but I must also thank the person who thought of Bukedea, though it was maybe a wrong thinking, but I must thank.
If Agnes NANDUTU returned the iron sheets and is convicted, why not other people? In fact, in another video, Agnes NANDUTU came out to say that the sentence was too harsh. He was asking the judge to reduce the sentence, which I think the judge never found palatable. Here's what happened.
I'm the first time offender. And on such grounds, I would request this honorable court to have limits on me. As you are well allowed, You know the history of my health. I have been in and out of hospital while in court. I'm up to date. My health is not okay. I'm still in and out of hospital. Even the situation of having blood clots in my lungs. It's a situation that makes me collapse at any time. And I'm a mother of young school-going children. For that, I'm a single mother of young school-going children. And I'm the only able person in the family to bring bread for both my family, biological family, the children, orphans that have been left from my siblings, and my ailing mother who is about 80 years.
I think I won't complete the whole video, but that was Agnes NANDUTU, as was giving reasons to the judge as to why he must not be jailed for 4 years. Because when you are in court, you must convince the judge not to give you a particular sentence, if possible to give you bail, if possible to give you a fine. And you must convince him with all the things and evidence. I think that's what he was trying to do. But for me, I suspect that even if he goes in the court of appeal, even if he goes in the Supreme Court, for as long as evidence was brought on the table and the slightest conviction is supposed to be 3.5 years, trust me, Agnes NANDUTU's goose is cooked. Unless when they convict her and General Museveni gives him a pardon, because the only person who can reverse a court decision is General Kaguta Museveni after being convicted. He can give you a presidential pardon. But lessons should be learned that the government is not able to fight corruption. Every person who tested these iron sheets ought to have come in court. We saw the DPP withdrawing charges from Lugorobi. We saw from Speaker Nitamong, we saw from the Prime Minister. By the Prime Minister almost took 1,000 iron sheets. The Finance Minister, they are all known on the hook. It's only Agnes NANDUTU, which is ugly. Of course, it's my opinion, millions truly. Mr. Makindi, Kabe Sulaiman Magali. If you're into this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I'm motivated to do more offset videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.